All right, Steeler fans, it is time for the mailbag segment, the second half of the Wednesday Let's Ride podcast every single week. And in case you're just tuning in again, I realize that there are a lot of people that find my podcast, our podcast network, every single season. The numbers dictate that every single season the show grows and grows and grows. And so sometimes people might say, well, like, wow, like what the heck's going on with the mailbag? How do I get my question answered? It's simple. Find me on Twitter at jhartman, HARTMAN_PIT. Every Tuesday morning, I put out the tweet. You just reply to it, and I will answer a question live on the air. All right, let's get this show on the road. Believers, he asked the Ride or Die Crew poll of the week. With all the positive vibes, I want to address some negatives. Who has been the biggest disappointment this year? Here were his options: Broderick Jones, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Joey Porter Jr., or other. Now, I had to think about this because these are great options. Broderick Jones hasn't lived up to the hype necessarily. Minkah Fitzpatrick, while playing decent football, is not really the playmaker that we got used to seeing early in his time with the Steelers. Joey Porter Jr.'s issues have been well documented, but he's still a young player. So I was not going to go with the other route. I was going to choose one of the three. I actually went with Broderick Jones. I do think Broderick Jones' play has improved tremendously this season, and especially in the second half of the season. And I don't think it's a coincidence that it also coincides with when Mike Tomlin started to openly support him to the public, to the media, saying he's going to be fine. So Broderick Jones, that's who I went with because I felt that I was hoping that he was going to have a huge year. I also hoped that Troy Fautanu was going to let him play left tackle, but that's not going to happen. So I went with Broderick Jones. There you go. Let's go to Nathan Van Slyke. Hey, Jeff, what do the coaches need to do to get Pickens to eliminate the big penalties he keeps getting? This is difficult. Anyone that's coached any sport on like the varsity level from high school or higher knows that this is sometimes the biggest challenge of coaching. You have situations where players just sometimes cannot get out of their own way. I will never forget my last year coaching. I had coached, he was a senior on that team, and Quinn would be fine if he knew I was talking about him on the podcast, by the way. He still keeps in touch with me after all these years. He was a kid. I taught him in sixth grade all the way and coached him through high school. So I've been around this young man in one way or another for 7 years. And he always just had this explosive personality. He was loyal to a fault. He would fight anyone if it meant you were messing with his teammates. It took a lot of time and effort on my part to have him understand there's a time and a place. That's exactly the message that Mike Tomlin has to be giving George Pickens. If you want to do your first down celebration, do it after you get off the field, and you can point all around the stadium if you want. If you want to talk trash, but don't drop the ball on someone. Don't step over someone. Go back, do it as you're going back to the huddle. Hines Ward used to talk a lot of trash. He just never got flagged for it because he was always moving himself back to the huddle. You just have to know there's a time and a place, and there's no better way to get up in someone's face and say, haha, like I got you, is by scoring a touchdown. Celebrating with your teammates. Let your play do the talking. I think that's what hopefully this young man in George Pickens is learning. All right, let's go to Tank. He has several questions. Let's finally find the first one here. He said, with the Browns coming up again, do you think both sides of the ball will bring out bags of tricks to confuse that dreaded little brother? I don't know if bags of tricks is it, but I think that the Steelers are having some parts of their offense, some parts of their defense that they're not unveiling for obvious reasons. And so that it may be a time where maybe you see a blitz that you haven't seen yet this season, or you may have an offensive personnel package that we haven't seen yet either. Maybe that would be like a Justin Fields in the backfield with Russell Wilson. Like that, no one's seen that, therefore you can't prepare for it. I think the Steelers do have some of that stuff up their sleeve. Next, with the amount of triple teams that TJ Watt is getting, do you think putting Cam on his side and sending them both would help sack totals? I tasked Coach KT Smith with this. I'm not sure if he's had a chance to do it. He asked me, what should he look at for his film breakdowns? He does them on his Twitter feed. If you haven't checked them out, please do. They're really good. I said, honestly, I'd love to see you look at TJ Watt rushing from the other side. They've been doing it more. I'd love to see what he thinks about him rushing from that side of the football field. So we'll see. But I think they are going to mix it up a little bit. Next from Tank, with Mike Tomlin coaching yet again another winning season, how soon do you think the Fire Tomlin people will start up again? The next loss. That's just how it works. The next loss is when you're going to hear fans say he needs to go. So it's a roller coaster ride for these coaches. Now the last one from Tank. Now that the Steelers have shown they can win ugly, pretty defensive, offensive, and special teams games, what's a realistic ceiling floor in your eyes? So talking about wins and losses. So they're 9-3 right now. I could foresee a win this week. That would put them at 10-3. So their final games would be against Baltimore, Philadelphia, Kansas City, and obviously Cincinnati to round it out. And so if you have 10 wins in those 4 games, I could see 2 wins. And so I think 12 wins would probably be a great number. And so 12-5, I think that wins you the AFC North. I think it gets you a home playoff game. I don't think it's going to be enough to get you a number 1 seed or anything like that, but I think that would be really good. The ceiling, the floor for me would be if you win only one more. If you win only one more game and you only win 10 and then you struggle, you're limping into the playoffs at 10-7. That's just not the way you want to do it. All right, let's go to Ant Smith. A lot of people complaining about Mike Williams not getting snaps, but could it be because Calvin Austin, who is quietly having a great season, since the trade for Williams, Calvin has taken it up a notch? You're absolutely right. Calvin Austin III, even go back to when Justin Fields was a quarterback at the beginning of the season, he was getting open. And he just was not getting noticed or seen by the quarterback, or the play drove the quarterback to another direction. He has just continued to get better. And every step along the way with Russell Wilson, they seem to be getting in step with one another. So I think the only way that Mike Williams starts to see significant snaps is, let's say Calvin Austin misses this week due to being in the concussion protocol, or maybe also he sees the field over Van Jefferson. But Van Jefferson is blocking more and better than Mike Williams does. This is tough. They signed him as depth, and that's exactly what he is right now. Another one from Ann Smith. Dan Moore has clearly been the best tackle this year. Although we have invested first-round picks the previous 2 seasons at tackle for the offensive line, do you want to re-sign Dan Moore? Your opinion. Do you think the Steelers will re-sign Dan Moore? So do I want them to re-sign Dan Moore? My opinion is if they chose to, I would not be against it at all. Do I think they will? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They won't. I think Dan Moore is going to, he's earning himself a lot of money. He's earning himself a lot of money this year. He's having a great year. And he's had several great years. Let's be honest. Like, he's had some stinker games, but for the most part, he's been a very solid left tackle. And so they make a lot of money in free agency. And so he's going to test the waters. He's going to make a lot of money. And the Steelers are going to say, we're going in with Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu. Those are our guys. And so that's just how it's going to work. The Steelers are going to take that money and allocate it somewhere else, like to the quarterback position or to a wide receiver in free agency. There's a lot of different avenues there, but I don't think that Dan Moore will be back. And Ant also said, I just want to shout out Dave and his family, prayers for him and his family. Yes, in case you missed the post-game show, Dave found out, I guess it was this past weekend, that he just lost his mom. We know that. And he just lost his oldest sister. And so, thank you, Ann, for bringing that up. I'll send my condolences his way again for sure. It's a tough time for the Schofield family, especially with the holidays coming up. Okay, let's go to the next question. Towels up, haters down. Where the hell is Trey Henderson and Roman Wilson? They could be vital to our playoff push. Henderson, I think he got put on injured reserve, and I know Roman Wilson is on injured reserve. So that's where they are. You asked where they are. I don't see Roman Wilson being initiated off of the IR unless there's an injury at wide receiver that would help get him a roster spot. Let's go to Eric Marchesani. I hope I said that correctly. He said, happy holidays. Same to you, Eric. Hey, do you see big Mike Williams getting involved soon? I think we can get him one-on-one down the field and open up the run even more. Why haven't they let him onto this moving train yet? What a game. Let's go. He played last week. Like, I don't want fans thinking the guy's been benched or he's in the doghouse. That's not the case. He played last week. He just didn't get a target. There's a big difference. So in this case, They did use Mike Williams, and they sent him on vertical routes, and it did open up underneath. That's sometimes a decoy that takes the defense and forces them to change what they're doing can be just as valuable as him actually making the catch himself. So if he was getting 2 snaps or the Deontay Johnson treatment in Baltimore where he got 0 snaps against Philadelphia, I would have issues. But that's not the case. He is playing. They're just not getting him the football. And Mike Tomlin said Tuesday that he thinks that will happen in due time. Let's go to CB. Asked, what are the chances we will keep Wilson and Fields? Do you think Fields would sit behind Wilson another year? I think, in my own personal opinion, this is not sourced or anything like that, that I think the Steelers are going to try and re-sign Russell Wilson after this season. I'm thinking like a 2 to 3 year contract, especially if it's a 3-year deal. That third year is going to have a lot of options for the team to get out from underneath it if they want to. I think Justin Fields is going to be tough to bring back. And the reason why is that unless he has no suitors, that nobody wants him, that he hits the open market and he says, I'm a free agent. Who wants my services? And everyone says, yeah, we're good. Thanks, but no thanks. If that happens, then maybe he comes back to Pittsburgh. But I just don't see him, a guy that quarterbacked the team to 4-2 this year. Not that he played outstanding, but it was winning football. I'm sure there's a team that's out there that wants to give him a chance to start. Unless Russell Wilson is asking for some astronomical number, then I think the Steelers are okay saying, look, Russ, you're 36. We think you got a few more good years left. Let's go out and win a Super Bowl. I think that's exactly the way they're thinking. All right, and let's go to John J. How important do you feel Najee Harris has been to the offense? Do you think he'll be re-signed or seek to go elsewhere? So I think Najee Harris has been important. I think he's been vital to the offense. Do I think he'll be re-signed? I think the Steelers will try, but I don't think the Steelers will overpay. This will be a situation, in my opinion, that the Steelers, and this happens a lot in the NFL, the Steelers will basically tell him or his representation, here's what we're thinking. 2-year deal, 3-year deal, X number of dollars, so much guaranteed. You all know the nuances of a contract. And what they'll say is, we'll let you test the waters. All you got to do is let us know. Take it or leave it. And so sometimes players, like look at Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans in Tampa Bay last year, they didn't even hit free agency. They said, I like that deal. I want to be here. I want to stay. I want to sign the contract. But sometimes players say, no, I appreciate it, but I do want to see what my value is. And so the Steelers probably won't budge off that number. And I actually think Najee Harris has earned himself a second contract somewhere else. It'll probably pay him more money, especially when you look at the Derrick Henrys and the Saquon Barkleys and the Josh Jacobs around the league who have upped their game in a new place. I don't know. We'll see. Let's finish this up as always with Steeler Fan 69. He provides some dad jokes at the end of the show. Hello, Jeff. What does a crow order at Starbucks? Coffee. Like it. What do you call a priest that becomes a lawyer? A father-in-law. And then what's the difference between in-laws and outlaws? Outlaws are wanted. Very good. I love those. And he said, say hello to your family for me. I will. They always love the dad jokes. I always share the dad jokes around the dinner table. They get a kick out of them. So we will do that for sure. I hope you all are gearing up for this game. I hope that you are excited for this game. And I hope you check out SteelCurtainNetwork.com for all your Steelers needs and all of our podcasts. Steel Curtain Network. Stay tuned for all the latest and greatest. We got it right there for you. You know how we finish these out, though. Be safe, be kind, and God bless. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Friday. Go Steelers.